renowned specialist with more than 20 years of experience in cancer and blood diseases. He is trained in USA for 7 years and is American board certified in both adult hematology and medical oncology in 2002. He has more than 200 number of bone marrow transplantation and stem transplantation in private sector with experience of treating more than 18,000 patients. He will deliver on a unique subject, the lifestyle beyond diet and exercise to prevent cancer. I will invite Dr. Kiran sir to deliver lecture.
Thank you for this opportunity to share what is my current passion today with you. Many of you know that I have been writing a series in Gujarat Medical Journal for last about 16 years, and you may be reading that every month article, and the last about 20 articles were on this subject, cancer prevention. So while doing that, I realized that there is a lot of information which is available in today's modern science on cancer prevention, which is not known to most of us, and either it may be very sketchy known or not known at all. And we have been focusing on only diet and exercise when we speak about lifestyle. And I also realized that reading the cross literature, it is not just cancer, but most of the non-communicable diseases have similar risk factors and similar solutions. So, when I talk about cancer prevention, the same thing applies to prevention of heart problems, diabetes, hypertension, stroke, and many other common problems. So with that background, I decided to talk about this subject, and when I delivered the first talk, I was a bit uncomfortable that whether doctors would have interest in this subject. But I am being told that now this is what actually a lot of people want to hear. And as sir was sharing with me that now cancer and even many of these other non-communicable diseases are no more distant. People are having these cases in their own families, relatives. So they want to know, the doctors also want to know, and you as doctors on any branch must be getting these questions from your family members and community members that cancer બહુ વધી ગયું છે. તમે ત્યાં જઈએ કે જમવા ગયા હોઈએ લગ્નમાં કેન્સર બહુ વધી ગયું છે, નહીં હમણાં કેમ વધી ગયું છે? It's a very common question. So let's understand some of these aspects. Everything is not known, but a lot is already known. And the talk is primarily based on the evidence from the modern science. So it is not like something that I believe or I have heard of. It is primarily evidence-based, and some traditional knowledge is there. So when we speak about lifestyle, most people think that lifestyle starts at age 40, because that is when everybody gets kind of settled in their career. Then they say, okay, let's exercise, let's focus on some diet, our vajan vadi gayu chhe, so let's do that. So for most of us mentally, doctor or non-doctor, lifestyle starts after that age. But the nature cycle has started long before that, and this is some evidence for that in utero CMV infection can lead to acute lymphoid leukemia in children. myeloproliferative neoplasm, polycythemia vera, CML, essential thrombocytosis. These mutations can be acquired as early as in utero and they manifest after several years. Pathology के बीज रोपड़ी गયું છે during the fetal life. Early life exposure to infectious agents can lead to cancer development later on. Then adolescent exercise. So we always talk about exercise again after becoming adult and that how it will prevent diabetes, cancer, heart problems. But this study of 74,000 women shows that if you have done exercise in adolescence, that is school and college, it provides a long-lasting protection to you even in middle age and that is independent of the adult exercise. So these points are very important for also the children in your family and in your community because you need to start healthy lifestyle for them as early as possible, then they will reap the benefits for rest of the life. It is said that a woman's risk of breast cancer is primarily determined by her lifestyle before the age of 30 years. And this may be true for many other non-communicable diseases. When we start thinking of breast cancer after 40, because even the mammogram screening starts at age 50. So, if you talk to any of your young patient or family that you should do this for cancer prevention, they will laugh at you or they will say that you are unnecessarily scaring them. So, but fortunately, because all these points of lifestyle matter for rest of the NCDs also, so you can talk that way. That for good health later on, not to get diabetes, not to get heart problems, you should start this. Then they will agree to those points. So this was just some brief idea of how early it needs to start. So what we will cover is that health is holistic. And when patients come to you and me or when we are thinking, reading, we are not trying to prevent just cancer or heart problem. ये तो શું થાય કે કોઈને કેન્સર થયું હોય ઘરમાં એટલે બધા એની પૂછવા કે કેન્સરથી બચવું હોય તો શું કરવાનું, કોઈને એટેક આવ્યો હોય તો બધા એની પૂછવા માટે કે આનું શું કરવાનું. Ultimately we want a good healthy life. We don't want just absence of one or two diseases, but mentally, physically both very healthy. So we will cover the evidence from the modern science. Invest from childhood is the repeated theme of all this research. Many times this will come. That you start very early. Earlier the better. Health is a very complex interplay of ahar, vihar and vichar as per the Ayurveda. These three things cover everything. When we say ahar, it is not just food but also air and water. That's what we take in. And then our activities and thoughts and its interplay with environment, genes, many other things. So a lot of the things about health we don't know, but some we know and that we can apply. If you think about the non-communicable diseases, that covers probably 80% of what you see in your practice in almost any branch. Because if you think about throughout this talk, you can think about your grandparents as reference point. That your grandparents had in that era, majority of these diseases were very uncommon. They were there, but not so many. Whether it is cancer, cardiovascular eye problems, spine problems, infertility. Right? Infertility was never a problem, in fact. That was very rare. And now it's the opposite. Gujarat has so many centers of infertility. This is a non-communicable disease related to lifestyle. So many gastrointestinal issues, acidity, multiple digestive issues. So all these NCDs and psychological depression. It's a very new disease, you can say. That you read the literature, depression was an extremely uncommon disease, whereas antidepressants now are having $1 billion market, and so many physicians here would be writing so many antidepressants in their common practice also. So as we discussed, the risk factors are common, younger age, better it is. Now the studies are primarily epidemiological and some randomized trials, but the numbers are few hundreds to several lakh patients and showing consistent findings. MD Anderson Cancer Center is the world's largest cancer center, and the title of their review article in 2008, cancer is a preventable disease that requires major lifestyle changes. Whereas most of the doctors and community think that cancer is a genetic disease. Right? So this is completely opposite statement. Cancer is due to changes in the genes, but those are acquired changes in the genes. What we have always earlier understood that genes are fixed and that they cannot change. So if you talk about a genetic disease, that means it is from birth, hereditary. So here it is very different. Any of the several risk factors will ultimately lead to changes in the genes of a cell, and that will lead to cancer. But that genes are not necessarily hereditary. MD Anderson, one of the experts, showed us that sequentially how the chromosomes change, and they showed that with healthy lifestyle the chromosome change is even reversed, even at the level of chromosome. So you can imagine that at final level so many changes can happen, and those are also studied. That our genes express or do not express based on so many factors. So all of us genetically have tendency for so many diseases, but we don't express those or suppress those based on our lifestyle and the environment and all that. So it is a genetic disease in that sense, but hereditary cancers are only about 5 to 10%. So what we know about cancer is that 30% are due to tobacco, and it is also the most powerful risk factor for cardiovascular disease. The smoking is much bigger risk than cholesterol, for example. Alcohol, no amount is safe, 5% cancers. Lifestyle, 30%. Yes, we will see some little more on this line later. So 30% cancers are due to lifestyle. About 20% are due to infections like HPV, which you know cervical cancer, but some other cancers also, hepatitis B, HIV. But what we will see little more about is poor hygiene leading to cancer. That is what we know. 40% of cancers in US are related to obesity, and obesity is rapidly rising in India also. Air pollution and others are a smaller number but important, and heredity is only 5 to 10%. Now a little disclaimer before I go on. And lifestyle is a very wide topic, so we cannot cover everything. I don't follow all the advice that I am going to give you. But I try to, and it is, if I cannot, it is not that you cannot. There may be some things you would be able to do, something I would be able to do. Every individual is different, and our health will also change during different phases of life. So, highly personalized field healthcare, as you all know, and that is why we will not be outsmarted by AI very easily. That's the good part. All points may not seem practical in today's life because many of the points related to lifestyle, the ideal are our grandparents' lifestyle, as you will see. Best way to live is to follow what your body is telling you. But until you know the language of your body, you better follow some general principles. કારણ કે મને તો ફીલ થાય છે, મને એવું લાગે એવું કરો, પેશન્ટ બી ઘણી વાર કે આપણે કેવું કરતા હોઈએ છીએ. So before you know the language of your body, don't just blindly follow what your so-called intuition is telling you. So one multiple choice question MCQ now. What is the number one factor affecting health and longevity overall? And there are no negative markings in this exam. So quickly, please, Amati, which factor is number one? Of course, all are important. Anyone? Sleep, okay. Then, very important point. But not number one possibly. But number one was to exaggerate करવું પડે ને એટલે number one relationship, okay. Exercise. How to eat. What to eat. It is very simple. Alright. So nobody is for alcohol. So we'll talk about the number one factor then. To have an understanding of the how to compare. So tobacco and longevity, there is average reduction by about 10 years. Now compare this with very recent paper published in British Medical Journal 2024, where they have studied 4 factors: gender, education level, marital status, and race. હવે આમાંથી gender and race you cannot change. Education level you can have some control, and marital status or relationship is where you can have the maximum control of your own, right? And if somebody had all 4 factors positive versus all 4 negative, there was an 18-year difference in the longevity. So that means this was a US study. So here, if it's a white woman who is at least university educated, then she is going to live 18 years longer than a black man who is not having the college education. You can see that this is bigger than tobacco. The importance of social factors, and this has been studied over and over again in different ways, that the importance of various social factors is so much bigger than the traditional health risk factors that we always talk about. More details of this came from the very long study by Harvard. They have been studying it continuously now, 4th generation is ongoing, and they have shown that the relationship had much bigger impact on health and longevity compared to any other factor, including cholesterol, physical activity, sleep, etc. And good relationships keep us happier and healthier both. So just including prevention of dementia also. So the psychological issues, brain issues, and multiple medical problems. So like we said earlier, we don't want to be just free of cancer or free of heart attack. We want to be happy and healthy, enjoy life. So the details of this study are that quality of relationships were more important and rather than quantity. So feeling that you can count on that relationship was most important. Where you had feeling of security, feeling of respect, love, obligation to each other, those things were more important. And the relationships can be multiple. It doesn't have to be, when we say relation, it's not only husband and wife. There is also these professional friends, like you all are. And then other community friendships, school friendships. So there are very multiple active groups. And they also studied that those who made new friends after retirement did better than, say for example, you retired here and then you moved to Bombay to live with your son. Or you're talking about going to US, then if you don't make any new friends, then your health goes down much faster. Versus you go there, make new friends, make a new circle, then it is better. Maintaining relationship is a lifelong task, and this is where most people lose patience. Because somebody asked the main director of this study that if it is so, then why people don't? Because it is not that આજે કહ્યું હવે આખી જિંદગી ચાલશે કે friendship કે marriage પહેલા 5 વર્ષ કરેલું હવે ધ્યાન નહીં આપીએ તો ચાલશે. It's a lifelong task, but it is worth the task. Many theories about why they matter so much, we will not go into that, but brain, gut, microbiota axis, neuroendocrine, immune pathways, good stress handling leading to more healthy behavior and less injuries. So there is a lot of these theories that whenever we come across stresses in life, we create some injuries to our systems, whether the DNA or some organ function, etc. So if we have good relationships, they buffer us and prevent those injuries. So as a result, we maintain healthier body and mind. So as per this study, loneliness is the biggest killer rather than all the others. Now of course lifestyle is a very big topic, from birth to death, menstrual cycle, conception, pregnancy, delivery, post-delivery period, menopause, sexual activity, fetal life, children, teenage, important transition to every decade of life, weather, at home, work, how we deal with big events in our life, good or bad, both, okay? All that. Now, we will quickly run through the studies, so don't try to read all the studies. I have highlighted few points in those studies in some important color, just to give you a sense, but lots of studies. Eat early and small frequent meals will reduce obesity. This is again very recently published, April 24. And with all very significant P values. So none of these studies are just small, non-important studies. So if lunch is the main meal, then the obesity risk is lower. And there are many studies related to diabetes risk also in similar way, that earlier the meal less the risk. There is one study where they gave the same food to same people at 7 p.m., 8 p.m., 9 p.m. and measured the various metabolic parameters. And with that, every hour there was worsening. So the diabetes risk increased. Every hour later eating. I will remind you again, keep your grandparents in the background of this talk whenever every point that you listen to. Dental hygiene and cancer, 65,000 women. If dental hygiene is poor, there is higher risk of breast cancer, lung, esophagus, gallbladder, melanoma. So it is not just oral cancer or GI cancer, but even other areas cancer can be increased by poor dental hygiene. Repeated use of antibiotics can lead to increase in the risk of colon adenoma, which is a precursor of colon cancer. Too much vitamins increase the risk of cancer. So again, very big number, 77,000 participants. High doses of individual supplements increase lung cancer, not with simple multivitamins, but high dose multivitamins. High dose like B12 with 1500 microgram or 1000 microgram every day, for example. Okay. There are many commercial multivitamins available from US. You know, some of you will have children or relatives in US. They will bring those big bottles with multiple high dose vitamin supplements. They are risky. No studies have shown that higher dose of vitamin is good, but multiple studies have shown that either it is not beneficial or negative, majority negative. Okay? Night shift increases risk of breast, GI, lung cancer in women. Again, how many people in this study? 39 lakh participants from Europe, North America, Asia and Australia. So none of these are small studies, they are huge databases. Okay? So you cannot say that this is some small off research, but you know it has not been consistent. Another study showing night shifts work with the risk factor for breast cancer. Now, when there is enough data, enough science of modern medicine, then the standard websites like CDC, Center for Disease Control USA, is the American government's official website for the health issues. They will come out with some statement, and this statement is quoted directly from CDC USA's website. Night shifts seem to increase the risk for type 2 diabetes, heart disease, stroke, metabolic disorders, sleep disorders. Also, reproductive issues, menstrual cycles, miscarriage, preterm birth, digestive problems, stress, depression. The whole list of non-communicable diseases is having many common risk factors, and all of you know that this sleep has become a big issue today. And think about your children also. Now, how do they define the night shift work? At least 3 hours between midnight and 5 AM. આપણામાંથી કેટલાના છોકરા ખાસ કરીને ટીનેજર્સ આ ટાઈમમાં જાગતા હોય છે, right? They are doing night shift. So night shift doesn't have to be official work. This is what they are doing at home. Night shift. Frequent night work, 3 or more nights per week. Think of the children. Long-term work, 10 or more years. Beginning night shift work early in adulthood, such as before the age of 30. So children, teenagers doing this long before the age of 30. Earlier the risk factor, more the risk. And saying the earlier good behavior, more the benefit. How does it lead to cancer or other health risks? There are many theories. Again, one of this quote from the CDC USA, that circadian disruption can harm biologic systems that help prevent cancer. For example, in addition to promoting sleep, melatonin can also stop tumor growth and protect against the spread of cancer cells. Laboratory animals many years, even when I was an oncologist fellow, we were being taught this. That is early menarche and late menopause, not having children, late first full-term pregnancy. So the strongest preventive factor for breast cancer is having first child before the age of 20. All points will not seem practical, but you should know the science. Okay? This is important. And this is what we know for 25 years. Hormone replacement and all increases some risk. Smoking and alcohol, we know, both lead to breast cancer risk, and earlier the age, higher the risk. So, एक आगे statement होता है कि woman's risk of breast cancer is primarily determined by what she did before the age of 30. That includes this reproductive, smoking, alcohol, exercise, all those points. Okay? Good news is that spicy foods reduce cancer, heart disease and lungs. So at least everything, all the studies are not negative. There are some good studies also, and I'm sure you had some good spicy food. Sedentary behaviors lead to young onset colorectal cancer. We see now so many young colon cancers. All the cancers practically which we always studied that the median age is 50, 60. We are seeing now at 30, 40. And one of the risk factors is the TV watching. You can now say that smartphone watching also, because when these studies were initiated, smartphones were not there. If you have 7 hours, there is higher risk, and 14 hours, 70% higher risk of colorectal cancer. 14 hours per week. This is very easy to do, right? 14 hours per week of TV watching. What are you talking about? But it is important. As we know, some things we can change. We don't know, we will not change. Adolescent exercise, we have highlighted earlier. Physical activity, we of course know about that exercise is good, but for people like me, who are not able to exercise every day, for whatever reasons, there is some good news that even weekend activity is also highly protected. So even 2 days of household work, sports, gardening, bicycling, whatever you can do. Shani Ravi ma mandi karo, to but you can get good benefits. જેમને એ પણ પોસિબલ નથી આપણા જેવા ઘણા બધા એમના માટે ગુડ ન્યૂઝ ઇઝ ધેટ ઇવન 4 to 5 minutes of physical activity bursts in your day-to-day life is also useful. Like a study mata, people carrying the grocery bags from mall to party, because US one there are long distances. So 4 minutes of walk taken, and you are carrying 2 big grocery bags. Garna household, of course, going up the stairs. So all these little things also add. So proper exercise is here, weekend activities here. So the difference is not very small. That's the good part. So exercise here, 5 days a week is here, weekend activities here, and these little activities are here. So the difference is not very big. It's not like all the way down. So don't get disheartened that if you are not able to do exercise, then think about it. There are many other things you can still do. And this is what you can advise your patients also. Because patients will be going through the same frustration. I have nothing there for food, nothing for food. I can't breathe, go dry, nothing what's it. And you give them this advice. And these little things, you participate in activities. Parking so you automatically walk. Like, don't take elevator. Dry fruit consumption has that across the scientific literature in general, regular consumers of nuts tend to be thinner. So there are some substances in the dry fruit which, in spite of very high calorie per se, they actually can make you or keep you thinner. Coming to the interesting topic of alcohol, especially for Gujaratis. A bottle of wine. So first, no alcohol is safe, no type of alcohol is safe. It is whether it is beer, wine, whiskey, whatever. And WHO, American Society of Clinical Oncology, both have official published statement for about since 8 years ago, based on so much of data that no amount of alcohol is safe. And younger age, worse this. That you remember for anything. Tobacco, food, exercise. And here, men and women are not created equal. Equality does not apply here. The risk to women is almost double. So they have quantified this in a way comparing with cigarettes. So one bottle of wine is cancer causing potential of 5 cigarettes for men but 10 cigarettes for women. Okay? So general equality, social, drinking, all that, now it is getting more into the trend. And we need to remember that nature does not agree to that point. So saying like to moderate drinking also leads to that. If you are also having tobacco use, then the risk is several fold higher. Last talk somebody asked me a question about chemicals, so I put up one slide on that. That chemicals are difficult to study each one individually, but we know that IARC, the International Agency for Research in Cancer, has a long list of chemicals. About 100 plus are level 1 carcinogenic with a strong, very strong evidence. And then there are level 2A, 2B like that. Now, in the level 2, this poor sleep is also in that risk factor. Okay, so not just chemicals, they put up all risk factors. Chemicals are part of it. So even poor sleep is level 2 as a risk factor. So when we talk about chemicals, majority of the cancer causing chemicals are industry related. So not to worry too much about it. But some points that we should know are that air pollution, diesel fumes, frying at high temperatures leads to acrylamide. So especially when you eat outside fried food, it is repeatedly cooked. So there is going to be significantly higher amount of this substance compared to at home where you are not doing repeated cooking in the same oil. Spraying of pesticides and fertilizers. So this is for the farmer. People fret so much on this, very worried about eating vegetables, these red fruits, washing many times and subconsciously worried. That risk is for the people who are spraying. So their exposure is so much higher than what we are getting at home. Very hot beverages. Some people like to drink the tea as soon as it is served. Right? I'm sure there are some people here too. Absolute very hot tea, coffee, whatever other beverage. So that is a risk factor. Opium, erica, sopari, indoor combustion of coal. Now, cosmetics, perfumes, lotions, all these, practically you cannot, stay away from chemicals. They are in all our life, this food, the polish of food, the clothes, everything. So what we need to know is that whatever in moderation you can use, you do it. When you talk about these cosmetics, there are at least 10 level 1 carcinogens in cosmetics. And you are putting it on the skin, on the lips, sure some is food additives, about 2,500 approved food additives. And remember this, you cannot study each one individually. You don't know which, and it's not necessary that everything will cause cancer. They may be doing some other thing also. For example, many food additives have been linked to endocrine changes. So we see that children looking like adults. Many times people comment that these young children, teenagers, college are looking much older and their body is looking too mature. That is, these endocrine changes from these chemicals. And their metabolism also then becomes like that. So a 20-year-old is behaving like a 40-year-old in terms of metabolism. So she also has slow metabolism and gains weight from eating the lower calorie food. So this is one reason for obesity, and many of the things we never even realize that we are eating is with chemicals. For example, cereals, bread. We think we are doing a healthy breakfast. Eating cereals, bread, having a packed juice, the orange juice I am taking in the morning and very healthy. All these have chemicals either directly or from the packaging material. So the packaging material will also lead to slowly leaching of some chemicals into this. So as little as you can of processed food is important. Now lastly, ahar, vihar and vichar. So we don't have, earlier our studies were trying to address individual diseases and cause. Hypertension, hyperglycemia, heart attack, hyperglycemia, cancer, hyperglycemia, so stress and this. And those were very difficult to study, so most of those studies actually failed to give very specific answer. But in last several years, few decades, lot of studies started on longevity, overall living long and healthy. And that is when we realize the value of each other. That is the relationship, right? The social, marital status, those things. So obviously that is very important. But a lot more needs to be studied in that. And obviously vichar has an impact on all the other things that we do, how much we eat, if we are depressed, we may be eating unhealthy diet. We are likely to have lots of chips, but if we are happy, we will prefer fruit, we will be having a control over what we eat. But if we are unhappy, depressed, ice cream, so obviously vichar has impact on the rest of the life also in many different ways. But that we don't have much in the modern medicine other than these large scale data on relationship. So we will not talk about that more. So in summary, when people ask me in clinic, we don't have time to explain all this. So how do we tell them in 1 or 2 minutes that what lifestyle they should live? So we tell them this: grandparents' lifestyle is near ideal. We are here, try to get somewhere here. If you can do that also, there is good benefit. And what did the grandparents do? In short, pair for program. This is what my elder uncle used to say, and he had this put up on the wall. So pair for program, that's physical activity. Stay active all the day. Like we discussed about the importance of physical activity in your day-to-day rather than just exercise. Little, stay active. Paid for program. Eat simple, light, and eat early, before 7. Silpur Protata. So these are the 3 things he used to say. So less expectations, stress, less of race, comparison, jealousy, all those things will keep it under. So I think that has covered everything I had to say. Now it is just a summary, but we can leave that and go to the, if there are any questions, I'm sure there will be, because we cannot cover everything. Any of those points that you can follow. I think we did not cover some studies on the hygiene, very briefly on the oral hygiene, but private parts hygiene has been linked to the cancer of ovary and endometrium also. That is also important. So menstrual hygiene and otherwise. So since we did not talk about diet, I have 2 points, one slide on that. Keep it simple. Remember grandparents, very little variety in the day-to-day food. Okay. Low calories, low sugar, low salt, less fried, variety only on festival and marriages, practically no processed foods, raw foods better, home food better, dry fruits, whole fruit is preferred over fruit juice. This has very strong correlation with the gut microbiome, and gut microbiome now is studied in practically every field, and gut microbiome is better, healthier with whole fruit or vegetables rather than juices, because the soluble fiber is very important for this microbiome. Reduce serving size, eat seasonal foods, and as far as possible, fresh food which is not refrigerated. Again, these are very hard things to do today, not refrigerated, but the refrigerators are getting bigger and bigger in my kitchen too. So, packaged foods have been linked to many diseases now, including overall mortality, cancer, heart problems, stroke, obesity, endocrine issues. So these healthy snacks, cereals, etc., bread, everything has chemicals and sugar, extra sugar, salt, oil. When you eat bread in the morning, you are taking a significant amount of sugar, which you may be thinking that I am not eating sweets, but you have already taken a big amount of it. So even ultra processing of the food leads to change in the nature of the food, even without added chemicals. So just because it is not a natural thing, suddenly temperature is raised like 200 degrees. So that also makes a difference. So prevention efforts to start from childhood, very important. So when you go home, please remember this for the children in your family. Adequate sleep, diet, physical activity. Don't give them smartphone as long as possible, as long as you can postpone. Make them go out and play. And lifestyle of our grandparents, where social connect is very important. What they had was the social connect, a bit of religion, spirituality, being content, early to bed and early to rise, physical activity is part of their life. They did not go to gym, right? But it was part of their daily life. Simple diet, how to eat before sunset, adequate sleep, and not to work on Sundays. Anytime, we don't give break to our bodies to heal. Every system needs a break. So now for doctors, so I will answer that in question answer separately. There is some good news. So I have covered. You can read more details in my website where 20 articles I have written on cancer prevention. So there is a lot more detail in science, explained also. So thank you.
Any questions, friends?
Sir, I'm just curious to know the mechanism behind the screen time and the colorectal cancer.
So we don't know. See what happens, the associations are easier to study, but the pathophysiology is much harder to study. But the potential mechanisms are that when you are just sitting, the blood flow will be altered. There will be a reduced blood flow of that area. That is one potential possibility. I go back and think about my life. It has not been same eating pattern. So the best thing is learn to listen to your body, because you cannot compare exactly with rest of the people around you. Even if you think about, even in your home, if there are 4 people, they each will have some changes in the amount of water they take, what type of food suits them, and how frequently they eat. So there is no one formula for this. एक जन दिवस में 3 लीटर पीवे, 1 लीटर पीवे refined oil. Some will take more rice, some will take little rice. कोई में तीखू अनुकूल आवे, कोई में एकदम तकलीफ થઈ જાય. We also know that the diet varies across the cultures and across the countries, and yet all these NCDs came about in only last 50-70 years. So that means diet is not much of an issue, it is the rest of the things. We are stuck at diet, what to eat. That is the least important part. As long as it is processed, as long as it is home food, some basic points. Other than that, what to eat is very little. Everybody has to understand, try and just like management people will say that if you want to succeed in your work, know your way of working, know your style, know your strengths and weaknesses. The same thing is here. Exactly so.
Sir, but what are the parameters by which we can judge our frequency of diet?
So,
we have to take 4 times.
excellent, right. I think that's a very good indirect way of learning. So, if you are hungry, then eat. If you are not, don't eat. Now, over the time, you will realize, you will learn that, okay, I have been just following some schedule, but I am not hungry at that point. And I am just eating because everybody else is eating, or because I am worried that if I don't eat, I will get eaten. But you know that in monsoon, you don't feel hungry. So that is why our religion put up fasting. भाई एक टाइम करवा सांझे नहीं की अत्યારે सांझे એમ જ ભૂખ ઓછી લાગે. What we do? Oh, ભૂખ ઓછી લાગે. Let's have something more interesting, even more interesting, more spicy, more variety, because our भूख नहीं लागे. So we are not listening to the body. If we listen to the body, it is telling us that you are not hungry, means don't eat. Then similarly, you will know over time that what foods are suitable to you. सेना પછી તમને મજા નથી આવતી. Over the time, practice and you will come to know કે આ ટાઈપનું ટ્રેન બહુ મજા નથી આવતી. So, if you cannot avoid, you take that only small. બીજું વધારે. And most of the time we eat based on mind, not the signals from stomach. If we follow these signals, then it's very easy.
Yes. I want to comment. My frequent meals are so the calorie balance is more important than this thing, I think.
Right, so this is appetite. But again, appetite is the last thing. So even when you play chess, you use lot of calories. Okay, so chess playing, like a sedentary activity, but it's a huge calorie expenditure. So that person may need more. So as doctors, if we are using lot of brain, we may have more appetite. If you have appetite, good. If you don't, then don't. So even age-wise it will change. So for a 20-year-old, 40-year-old, 60-year-old, even with the same amount of activity, the appetite will be different, the digestive power will be different. But this is not something that will come, like in one lecture. You have to follow this. So just like if you are investing in stock market, you are not going to learn it in one day, right? So we don't expect that. Over the years, you will become a savvy investor. It's the same thing here. You can't learn effort and time which we don't, because for most people the body has been so good कि आपने गमे टू मारिए abuse करिए, it goes on and on, so we don't realize the value of that. We don't try to learn. Same thing we do with relationships. We take it for granted, and so we lose on that. But all these things need to be given time and nurtured.
Any question?
Dr. Chirag Shah sir has narrated so many interesting and useful tips for prevention of cancer. We would surely like to hear in our FFG group also in next future. Thank you friends and seniors for attending this event. Thank you very much.